Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everybody, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episodes 5 and 6 of Sonic Boom. So, yeah, last time I mentioned that we are kind of going to give Sonic Boom another chance here, but I'm at the verge of possibly dropping it. I've basically been... It's not bad, but nothing about it is, like, hooking me in either. It just... That's the big thing for me. It hasn't hooked me in. And I admit, there have been multiple shows on this channel that I have dropped way too early. Owl House, Amphibia, and so many more that I dropped too early. Hilda is another great example. And through checking them out again, I've been able to appreciate them a lot more. I acknowledge that. But with this series, I was only interested in the first place because of my more recent interest in the Sonic movies, as well as the fact that there are some clips that I have seen that are just, like, really fucking funny. And so far with the first 4 episodes, I can see those clips very much being within this, but I can't see much else in terms of potential. This doesn't come across as a series to me that's ever going to have a main story. Like, there might be a 2-parter, and that's the best you can hope for. But it doesn't come across to me as ever having an actual main story, being completely episodic instead. It also seems like it's one of those shows that are going to be a lot more reliant on its gags and humor than on any actual story or character work. All of the characters kind of boil down to tropes in a way. None of them really feel like full-fledged people, using the term as much as I can for anthropomorphic animals like them, but still. None of them feel like actual full, completely thought-out characters, and more just tropes. Knuckles is the dumb one with a heart of gold. Amy is the overbearing one. Styx is the paranoid one. Stuff like that. It's like that's pretty much their character. They may have a little thing or two otherwise here, but there's not enough to them that really makes them stand out to me. The voice performances are fine. I mean, when you have, like, Travis Willingham and the voice actress who's also Luna Loud in Loud House, it's like, yeah, the voice acting's fine. The visuals, I don't really have a huge issue with. They're a little lower quality than a lot of stuff I watch, but I don't have a huge issue with. The score, all of that's fine. But I've said it before, I've talked about it before, story and characters are important to me as a consumer of media. When I watch anything, when I play a game, when I read a book, story and characters is always the first thing on my mind. It's the thing that hooks me into a series and makes me invested in it. It's the reason why The Owl House has become one of my favorite shows of all time. The story and characters is so expertly, phenomenally done. It's why One Piece is my favorite piece of media of all time. And so on and so forth. It's not the humor or the imagery or the style, it's the story and the characters. And this just isn't having that for me. Like, the characters are just too one note. There isn't really much of a story. And again, even with episodic stuff, it's like there has to be, it has to give me something. But it's like each episode is basically like the most barest bones of a scenario, and they just kind of like work with it. It almost feels, in the weirdest way, it almost feels like improv. Like you know, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? It almost feels like a Whose Line skit, but not good and not intentional. It feels like they're accidentally doing a poor Whose Line Is It Anyway skit, where it's all just made up on the spot, and there's no thought or effort put into it. And it's just, again, I don't think that's what they were actually doing for obvious reasons, but it feels like that, and it's kind of disappointing if I'm being honest. And by the way, I'm not like saying anything against Whose Line. I love Whose Line Is It Anyway, and improv is actually pretty fantastic. It's the quality at which it's done here, and the fact that it doesn't feel like it's meant to be improv. That's the issue. But because of all of this and all, I've been unable to connect with this series so far. And because of that, I kind of had to put it on notice, put it on hold. Or not put it on hold yet, but basically, I'm giving it these 2 more episodes here. The episodes are half length, so it's not going to be hard to sit through. But with as many episodes as there are per season, because it looks like there were quite a bit for both of the seasons, I would not be able to force myself through this. I would, unless it starts improving like notably within these episodes and shows that, it's something that I clearly can already tell I would not be able to sit through without growing to hate it. I would grow to hate this series. And I don't want that to happen. I would rather drop it and leave it off on more of a meh note than actually come to hate it. But yeah. And if you like this series and if you find a lot of value in it, that's great and that's awesome, and I support that. But I have noticed that even other people in the comments were saying like this isn't their favorite Sonic series and it's like it's not the best or anything. So apparently I'm not the only one who's feeling this way towards Sonic Boom. And it sucks because it kind of reminds me of Gumball. Gumball was very much the same way for me in the fact that I had seen clips beforehand and those clips were really fucking funny. Really fucking funny. But then the actual series is like, oh yeah, you'll rarely actually see that stuff. Most of the time it's just not that entertaining at all. And it's just like, that's really disappointing because there's so much potential for really good comedy here. But we'll see. Maybe these 2 episodes will end up impressing me. Maybe they'll end up proving me wrong, and maybe this will take a bit of an upswing. I would hope for that. I would love to see that happen. But we'll see. If not, I do already know what I'm going to replace this with. Just because of the timing of when this is all happening. So, it works out in that regard. But either way, I'll talk about that in the afterthoughts if it comes to it. If I end up liking these episodes a lot more, if these episodes actually really turn me around on it, then we won't have to worry about that right now. But yeah, we're gonna get on with this and see what we can get with these. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. How incredibly underwhelming. I'm actually really kind of disappointed by this. Because it just feels so underwhelming. It just feels so just boring and not really that great. Both of these episodes felt like they could have maybe had potential if stretched out further, if like these were like 22-minute episodes instead of 11-minute episodes. But even then, I just feel like a lot of this is built on, again, tropes that just don't work. So the first of these two episodes focused on Styx. She gets an invitation to these awardee awards where she could win an award for whatever, I guess contributions or something. And she has to end up looking more like a lady to participate. Amy helps her, and she kind of succeeds, kind of doesn't. Eggman ends up being there. He ends up getting annoyed by the fact that he didn't win because he tried to rig it. He attacks. Styx has to, not be a lady. And that's it. Styx is, out of all of the characters in here, she has the most potential. And so having her actually have a second layer to her personality compared to everyone else who are all one note is fitting in that regard, because now she's not just paranoid, but she's also in love with trash, which we kind of got a little bit before, but not enough of to really consider it an actual part of her personality. But now it definitely is. So she has two notes, which is, she's still not a full character. It's like they took the concept of a character and just like, before actually completing anything, just like said, okay, we're done, we're ready. And it's so annoying because there's potential there, especially in the comedy department, but they just don't do anything with it. There's no real effort put in, and it feels harsh to say that the people who made this and wrote this and everything didn't put forth effort. It feels harsh to say, and it feels mean to say that about them, because they probably did. But it feels like they didn't. It feels so half-assed. And then Amy, like, going with this, and even with the second of these two episodes, is just stereotypical girl character number 382. She is so bland, and Amy shouldn't be super bland like that. There's no problem with having her be girly, but it's just not entertaining in the way they're portraying it. She's so boring. Like, they basically just said, let's just make Amy super girly and have nothing else to her character or personality at all. It's just like, she's the girly one. And it's like, so of course she has to help Styx figure out how to be a lady. She has to be the one to be into interior decorating. And it's just like, I think it would have been funnier if Knuckles was the one who was into interior decorating, was actually surprisingly good at it. That would have been fucking hilarious. The only funny part about either of these episodes was the one thing with Knuckles taking the paper, putting on the glasses, all staring at it for like a few seconds, and then saying like, oh wait, I can't read. The timing of that was so perfect. The humor of it was genuinely good. But like I kind of feared, the jokes like that are just the actual really good jokes of this series are just very few and far between. It's like it's the only thing people ever talk about with this series. So it kind of leads you to believe that that's going to be common, but no, it's rare that you actually hear those jokes. Most of the time, the jokes are practically non-existent, and anything they try to make funny just ends up falling flatter than an idiot's perception of the earth. It's sad. And the characters being so one-note and boring really doesn't help. Like, I don't give a shit about this version of Sonic or Tails. Knuckles is a little more interesting, but I mean, this series is making me dislike Amy. Amy is my favorite Sonic character. The fact that this is making me dislike her is irritating the shit out of me, honestly. This is not the Amy I know and love. And I really hope that when and if she does appear in the next live action movie or whatnot, they do her better than this. I really hope they do. Because this is not what I want. I don't know if I would say it's as bad as, like, Velma from Mystery Inc. in terms of how they're hurting her character. In fact, I would actually say it's not as bad as that. That Velma being ruined in Mystery Inc. was much worse. But without question, this is not a good portrayal for Amy. Knuckles and Sticks are probably the only characters I kind of like. But again, it's only on occasion. It's like most of the time they're just boring. This series has so much potential, and it doesn't do anything with it. It wastes it. And it's really disappointing to me. So, yeah, I think that we're going to drop this one. Even with the possibility of other jokes that are coming into the future. Like, I know there's a joke where Knuckles, like, just out of nowhere, like, shares this really eloquently put series of thoughts on feminism. I've seen that clip. And it's like, that is fucking hilarious. And also really cool. But it's like, if the jokes like that, the really high quality jokes, are going to be very few and far between, it's not going to be worth it for me. And considering all my other feelings towards pretty much everything else, I'm not having fun reacting to this. I just don't see the appeal here. Again, potential is there. Execution on that potential is not. And this is not like a series like Owl House or Amphibia or Hilda or whatnot that I feel like has the potential to get much better later. It's not one of those series that I think is going to improve and that I'm going to regret dropping. No, this is not going to be one of those series, I think. Not with how it's formatted and laid out. Like with Owl House and Amphibia, it's like I was a little surprised at how much better they got after I initially dropped them, but not that surprised. The potential was always there for those two, but it's not quite the same with this. So, yeah. I really hoped it was going to prove me wrong. I really hoped it was going to end up impressing me here. It just didn't. So that leaves us into what is going to replace this. So Actually, today, the day you're seeing this, another series just started. I mentioned in the pre-thoughts I already had something set up for this because of just the timing of it. And this is a series I am very much looking forward to. So, even though that starts today, you're obviously not going to start seeing it until next week. And that is the new anime series Kakegurui Twin. The prequel slash spin-off of the Kakegurui series, centering around Mary Saotome, my favorite character from Kakegurui. So, yeah, very excited for that. I know very, very, very little about what the series is actually about. So I'm very much interested to see what this is, comparative to the main series, which apparently can't continue right now because I guess there's not enough content in the manga because of how Kakerui's chapters releases. So they don't have enough for a full season, another full season yet, which is disappointing. But hopefully they will, I guess, maybe in the next couple years. But at least we're getting something. At least we're getting a spin-off until then. So yeah, that's going to replace that starting next week. And hopefully it ends up being good. I'm really genuinely hoping that it ends up being really good and living up to the potential of the first two seasons of the main series. As an anime only. That's as much as I can hope. So, that being said, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of these two episodes, episodes 5 and 6 of Sonic Boom? And tell me, is this series just underwhelming to you as well, or do you really like it a lot more? And if you do, again, I want to make it very clear, I support that. I support everyone coming to their own conclusions and having their own feelings towards any series I react to. If you love a series that I don't, that's awesome. If you hate a series that I love, cool. I completely support that because difference in opinions, especially with subjective material like media, is something to be celebrated. So, yeah. Either way, tell me your thoughts down below. And thank you so much for hopefully understanding my viewpoint on this all. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.